Nietzsche's words or the philosophical context out of which they arose. I had begun to construct the story of myself around them. Then, I was blindsided by a life-altering illness, and the aphorism snapped into an even more personal place for me. I used Nietzsche's line like a shield, sometimes a weapon. Yes, my pain would make me stronger, not weaker, sadder, distressed, or vulnerable, and I would move through the world a more dogged, battle-hardened person. For years, I even wrote his words in the right-hand corner of nearly every page of my work notebook, so that I might glance over to them at any moment as a reminder of my intensifying strength. The promise of Nietzsche's maxim is the idea that out of their most harrowing crucibles, human beings emerge harder and flintier, with greater reserves to draw on and a character hammered and chiseled by the trials it has endured. For 130 years, his line has evoked the idea that we could become more powerful, physically, emotionally, spiritually, as long as we were able to survive whatever injury, illness, accident, or smarting twist of fate had torn our lives asunder. In Nietzsche's telling, endurance becomes synonymous with accretion. We subsume what we withstand, and our character expands in stride with the geography of our suffering. If we were up for the challenge, Nietzsche seemed to promise, adversity could transform us into superior versions of our younger, more callow, and less tested selves. It was a challenge I'd co-opted to inform and animate my personal ethos. For a very long time, his words were the through line for the story I told myself to explain the biographical facts of my life. On a Friday in June of 2018, I was fatigued, disoriented, and coping with an aching pain that seemed to bloom from deep within my bones. As I drove to my sister Allie's house, I pushed away the sense of an unfolding crisis that had for months become a persistent white noise in the back of my mind. Though I'd been to her brick ranch home many times before, driving north up the interstate, I struggled to recall the right exit. After finally turning off the highway, I pulled onto her street and parked. From there, we headed to the therapist's office together in her old Mulberry Honda Accord. During the drive, we slipped into the deep, familiar grooves of siblings who'd long had to rely on each other for advice, guidance, and emotional support. There were no masks between us, only our raw selves, as jagged and battered as lonely escarpments. The therapy room was spacious and rectangular in a way that evoked a still, pensive courtyard. Plants sat on shelves and in corners, side tables were painted in crisp lime, and a large, framed painting of a dewy glen hung on the far wall. The effect was a kind of lushness that seemed to gesture towards self-knowledge, a fecundity that might coax out the serrated secrets and tiny, dense truths buried inside so many of us. Or at least, that's what I imagined and hoped. The therapist, a middle-aged man with a wiry build and agile brown eyes, greeted us each with a genial handshake. He told us to take a seat on one of the red upholstered chairs, that more people should be arriving soon. As we waited, exchanging polite smiles, a sharp ache carved its way through my arms and legs. I smothered the pain with practiced composure and tried not to betray my discomfort. It was a maneuver so familiar that it had become second nature. Acknowledging the pain would only alienate me from the rest of the people in the room and crack open the door where self-pity entered. I'd learned to keep it shut. After close to half an hour, 3 middle-aged women joined us. Had anybody been watching, the contrast would have been bemusing. A 32-year-old man in jeans and sneakers, a half-sleeve tattoo spilling out from underneath his polo shirt, surrounded by women who could each have been his mother.